At first glance, it's just a fruit, prickly, tropical, and deliciously sweet. But in the 1700s, the pineapple was much more than something you'd slice into a summer cocktail. It was power, it was prestige, it was the social equivalent of wearing designer fashion, driving a luxury car, or flaunting a diamond-studded watch. This is the strange and captivating story of how the pineapple, yes, the pineapple, became one of the greatest status symbols in European high society. And believe it or not, people even rented them. Our journey begins in the sweltering tropics of South America and the Caribbean. The pineapple, native to that region, had been cultivated for centuries by indigenous peoples. But when European explorers first tasted it in the 1490s, likely during Columbus's second voyage, it blew their minds. The sweet, juicy flavor was unlike anything they had ever encountered. This wasn't just exotic, it was divine. But there was a problem. Pineapples were incredibly difficult to transport. They spoiled quickly, especially during long ocean voyages back to Europe. Only a few survived the months-long trip across the Atlantic, and those that did were practically golden treasures. In fact, by the 1600s and 1700s, a single pineapple in England could cost the equivalent of $8,000 today. Let that sink in. $8,000 for a fruit. This insane price tag catapulted the pineapple into the upper echelons of society. Owning one, or even displaying one, became the ultimate flex. Pineapples were no longer just fruit, they were icons of wealth and worldliness. Royals, aristocrats, and the nouveau riche would proudly showcase pineapples at banquets and garden parties, not to eat, but to be seen with. Some hosts would even display the same pineapple for multiple events, keeping it until it rotted, all to maintain their image as refined and worldly tastemakers. Paintings from the era depict noblemen holding pineapples like sacred relics. It was a fruit on a pedestal, quite literally in some cases, where it was placed at the center of elaborate dining tables like a crown jewel. And get this, a booming pineapple rental market emerged. That's right, if you couldn't afford to buy one, you could rent a pineapple for a day or evening. For a hefty fee, florists and fruit merchants would provide you with a perfectly ripe pineapple to use as a centerpiece at your party or event. Then they'd take it back, possibly to rent it to someone else the next day. The same fruit could appear in 5 or 6 different upper-class homes before it ever got eaten. The architecture of the era even got in on the trend. Pineapple motifs started showing up everywhere, carved into columns, sculpted into gates, topping buildings. One of the most famous examples is the Dunmore pineapple, a bizarre but beautiful 18th century Scottish garden folly with a giant stone pineapple topping the roof. This wasn't art for art's sake, it was signaling wealth, taste, and connection to the EI.
This wasn't art for art's sake, it was signaling wealth, taste, and connection to the exotic, faraway colonies of the empire. Of course, this pineapple obsession was deeply tied to imperialism and colonialism. The fruit itself came from colonized lands, grown by enslaved or exploited laborers in brutal plantation systems. European elites reveled in the luxury of pineapples, but the true cost was paid by people half a world away. Eventually, the status of the pineapple began to wane. By the 19th century, greenhouses, known as pineries, became more common in Britain and the Netherlands. With them, the fruit became more accessible to the rising middle class. What was once a symbol of unreachable luxury slowly became, well, just a fruit again. But the legacy of the pineapple as a symbol of wealth and hospitality remains. Even today, the pineapple is used in hotel logos, home decor, and welcome signs, echoes of an era when owning one meant you had made it in the world. So next time you stroll through the supermarket and casually toss a pineapple into your cart, remember, once upon a time, that same spiky fruit was worth a small fortune, guarded like treasure, and displayed like art. It wasn't just food. It was fame, fortune, and colonial power all rolled in one sweet slice. A fruit so rare, people rented it just to show it off.